What's going on, everybody? It's KRYPTONIAN saying here, bringing you guys another review for Black Clover. And now that Black Clover Chapter 351 is done in the books, we got a lot to talk about because Tabata just gave us a perfect bow being tied on top of Asta's journey to become the Wizard King, and why Destiny is taking him here to the Land of Sun on one of his final steps before he becomes the actual Wizard King. Out of all the people who've offered him wisdom or who have narratively been introduced to show us as readers that Asta has what it takes to be the Wizard King, it's actually Ryuuya and Yosuga who are making the strongest case for having the clearest signal that the boy who was born without magic in a world where magic is everything, that boy is set to become the Wizard King after he saves the world from Lucius, the current rogue Wizard King. So with the initial thoughts out of the way, let's back things up for a bit and let's dive into the review itself. The chapter opens up with Asta attacking the fabled dragon of the Land of Sun, using his Zetten while he's doing so, but the dragon regenerates from the attack. You'd think that this would be the battle that will be the primary focus of the chapter, but Tabata switches lanes very fast after teasing us with some of Asta's action to show us Yosuga versus Heath taking place, where Heath has continued to show his unwavering devotion towards Lucius, saying that he can't afford to lose this fight because he has to win in order to help Lucius create an ideal world that they're trying to bring forward into this world here. This leads to Yosuga telling Heath, I have no idea what your shogun, basically referring to Lucius here, is actually like, but he sees the devotion that Heath has towards Lucius and he acknowledges that devotion, but basically he's saying that his own devotion towards Ryuuya is going to be what powers him through this battle to ensure an easy victory. Essentially, we have a clash of wills at stake here, and what I love about this is that it's symbolic in the sense that one is a natural devotion that has real history to it, whereas the other one is a manufactured one due to how Lucius has gone about things with the paladins. Tabata is showing us what it looks like when followers are willing to go that extra mile for you because they sincerely believe in you from the bottom of their hearts, versus someone like Heath who has low-key basically been gaslighted and manipulated into going the extra mile for Lucius, and Tabata drives home the differences with the flashbacks that we're getting here. You see Yosuga's entire history, where he was the heir to the Koshu Islands in the Land of Sun, and he's been the absolute strongest unchallenged on that island and in all the 5 islands except for one person, the future shogun of the Land of the Sun, Ryuuya himself, who was the heir to the Goshu Island. There was a healthy rivalry between the two, each breaking through the limits to attain more power to prove who would be the best person who would be between the two of them to become the shogun of the Land of Sun. However, it's here that things take a turn for the darker, but like any good shonen series does, despite the darkness that you're getting, the manga takes time to turn such a dark moment into a teaching moment, and here's how it does so. There was a plague that befalls the islands, which led to so many people dying. During the midst of all this death, however, we learn that there's an herb, a type of soul grass, that was believed to have gone extinct, but there might be a way to attain it even though people think it's gone. However, there's a very hefty price that's needed in order to attain this herb. We learn what the price is after we switch over to the new area and we learn about Tengetsu, the power that is within the land, the all-seeing eye that only Yosuga and Ryuuya have the power to attain it. But the price for attaining it, it's the very power, the very magic that both of them are so proud of, the very power that they believe that they needed in order to become the shogun. That power would need to be sacrificed. There was no getting around it. You couldn't barter like, I'll pay half up front now and then I'll pay the other half later on or anything like that. All your power has to be given up. It's a tall task to be given to someone. Save the lives of many who are suffering right now, but inconvenience yourself in the future by not being able to protect them when the next inevitable threat shows up. For someone so strong, being forced to sit by and watch things play out is the hardest thing to do. Yosuga runs through those very thoughts pretty much right away, thinking the price to pay for Tengetsu is too steep for him to pay, and Yosuga was too proud of his strength and how it allowed him to protect others to cast that power aside, even if it would have been for the greater good. However, Ryuuya doesn't hesitate, saying that it's a small price to pay if it means he can save the lives of many, and unlike Yosuga, there was no wavering in his heart, and that's where we can see a little bit of Asta and Yosuga. Asta likely would have come to that same conclusion had he been in that same situation, and with Ryuuya, even though he has given up the physical power to protect others by losing his magic, he never doubted his ability to still keep those precious to him safe. And we see that with Yosuga going from being very annoyed with how his rival basically threw away their rivalry and all of his power, but he eventually sees the light due to Ryuuya continuing to save others. By the time the feudal lords are getting together to decide on who should be the next shogun, when they put forward Yosuga's name and basically downplay Ryuuya, despite all the love and adoration that so many people in the Land of Sun have towards him, Yosuga demands that it actually be Ryuuya who is made the next shogun of the Land of Sun. By watching from the sidelines and seeing how much Ryuuya gave up his precious power to be able to protect others and didn't allow his lack of combat power to keep him from continuing to protect others and still find ways to be useful to others, despite the fact he couldn't use magic, Yosuga was won over by the actions, which cements that Ryuuya was indeed a true leader and the correct leader all along. He doesn't need to say much. His actions do all the talking. I hate to use a cliche, but it's very appropriate here. And those who are watching him, they get inspired to do their best. This leads to the conclusion of the battle with Heath, where Yosuga basically uses the Iron Warrior to one-shot him, and as Heath is knocked out, Yosuga looks over at Asta and wonders if they can make a man out of Asta. This was a really good chapter because it continues to build on what we have been seeing in this arc, which is that learning what it means to be truly strong and understanding that strength can be found in so many different ways. Asta for the longest time was looking at strength through the scope of combat, but this interaction with Ryuuya, the training with the Ryuzen, the facing of his own fears a few chapters back, and now the flashback with Yosuga proves that Asta is still learning that there are different types of strength, and sometimes the physical power isn't the type of strength you need to protect others, which is fitting because it continues to show that Asta has so much more room to grow, which is why that line, "Shall we make a man out of him, the boy who wants to reach the same heights as Ryuuya," is so important for us to keep in mind moving forward. To take down the Wizard King, it's going to take more than just raw power, and Asta might have conquered his own self-doubts, but there is still room for him to grow, and he's being forced to step into a leadership role because he's going to have to take charge if they're going to bring down Lucius. While he doesn't have a literal plague that he has to save people from, like say Ryuuya did, Lucius is a symbolic plague for Asta, which is why the parallel between himself and Ryuuya works so well for Asta's character. However, my question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about Yosuga's flashback, and do you agree that to be a leader of men, there are different types of strength that you are required as a leader, and which do you think Asta is currently lacking, and which type of strength do you believe is actually his strongest asset as a leader? While you think that over, click here to watch these other Black Clover videos you see on the screen right now.